You got an audible? Audible?
It's not even working. Mission is a go, everybody. Welcome to the new episode of the Student Media Podcast. I am your co-host, Deacon Tuttle, joined by the magnificent and electric Evan Couch.
I'm not so electric today. I gotta be honest. I'm kind of sad.
He looks a little sad right now, you know.
I'm a little sad. And I'll tell you why I'm a little sad.
Okay. Well, we'll get to that, but before that, we'd like to introduce our, your feelings basically aren't important, is what I'm saying. Not actually. We love you, Evan.
I'm glad we all understand that. We're on the same level here.
But, let's get to our awesome guest here. Coming from Duvall, Washington, he's a senior studying theater. He's an assistant director of plays. He's been in them. He started them. He knows the inner workings of that. And he's also the president of the Hot New Jam. Welcome, Marcus Wolf, to the studio.
Hey, how's it going, Marcus?
Thank you. Well, thank you guys so much for having me on the podcast. I'm really excited to be here. It's awesome.
You want to know what my first question is how does it feel to have like one of the coolest names ever? Like the Marcus Wolf. That's a cool name.
Oh, thank you. Sometimes I find like it rolls off the tongue really well. Marcus Wolf. And
Marcus
then I'm like,
Wolf.
and then my middle name is Arnold. And so Marcus Arnold Wolf. It just like kind of rolls off the tongue and stuff. But thank you very much. Yeah,
That's a cool name. It's better than Evan Couch. All right. I mean, like,
no. That is false right there. That is false.
Here's the thing about yours, though, Evan. You can go couch. You can really enunciate it.
Couch.
Yeah. Well, and you can have the bit too of just like, this couch is mine. Kind of thing. Like if you go to any place, you see a couch, it's like, yes, this is mine.
It's like, you know how many times I've heard if I tell someone my last name, they're like, "Oh, can I get your last name?" And I say Couch, and they look at me real quick, and I'm like, Couch, like sofa, COUCH, couch, and then they're like, "Oh, okay," and then they type it in. It's like, yeah, as if they don't know how to spell couch, but people sometimes just kind of get tripped up on it.
Yeah, well, you would be surprised. With my last name, Wolf, people spell it differently all the time.
They throw an E at the end or something.
Yeah, there's an E at the end.
Mm-hmm.
There would be two F's, or there would be a U instead of an O.
A good buddy of mine actually spells his name like that. Tripper Wolf, W.
Oh yeah, Trip. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, but mine is spelled like the animal, so WOLF. So it's like, what the heck?
Yeah, like the coolest name ever. So you got that going for you. I want to rewind real quick. Did he say Duvall, Washington?
Duvall,
Washington. Yeah.
That is so cool. I've never met anyone from Duvall. When I go home, when I'm driving back to the west side and I go home, I live up north on the west side. So if I don't want to drive through like Bellevue and Bothell whenever it's later in the day, I'll take that exit through Duvall and Fall City, and I'll go up through Monroe. And every time I go through Duvall, I say it all the time. I'm like, dude, I think Duvall is one of the nicest places I drive through all the time, and I would love to live there someday. It is so nice up there.
It is, and I will say, like, I could say this very biasly, but it is like one of the sweetest towns there. It is a perfect like place to like, if you want to have like start a family or like continue your family. Like, it is a great community. I think it was recorded as like one of the safest places and stuff, and it's been growing just like absolutely crazy. Back in the 80s, my parents, when they lived in Bothell, they used to call Duvall the end of the earth because there was just like basically nothing there. It was just gravel roads and stuff. But now it's been just like
the expansion is.
Oh my gosh! Every time I go back, my family and I, we moved from Duvall after I graduated high school. Every time I go back there to see people, it's just it's constantly expanding with homes and like restaurants and stores and stuff like that. And they're very much like, they don't want chain restaurants. They just want like people, local community and stuff like that. It's such a very
where I come from, it's the same exact thing. I think where I come from is a lot smaller than Duvall, but I also think that's kind of why I like it so much, is because it kind of reminds me of home. It's like this cool little town. It's definitely bigger, but it's like kind of tucked away in the forest, kind of up there in the woods, and just a highway that takes you through the middle of it. It's pretty cool.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. That is so cool, man. Yeah,
I've never met anyone from there, so I had to make sure I got that, make sure I heard that right. But I mean, like you just mentioned high school and stuff, and being the president of Hot New Jam, which is the improv comedy group here on campus. Where does that come from? How do you even get into that? Was there anything back in high school or where you're from that kind of pushed you along that road that got you interested in that, or was that something you found when you got here on campus?
Oh yeah. Well, so we had in my high school we had the Thespian Society, so kind of the national theater club. The National Theater Club that was just around like all the high schools and everything. And so we would do like competitions, and they would hold the state conference both here at Central and at Western kind of every other year. But at my high school, we had the theater club, and then we would always do a play and a musical. And so we would always have stuff like that. But then when it comes to improv, like the more advanced theater class, the advanced acting class, the teacher would always teach improv for half the class, and would just kind of go along the basics there. And so I kind of knew a good chunk of what improv is, or kind of what it feels like to do improvised scenes and comedy bits. And so then coming up here to Central, finding the Hot New Jam, and auditioning there, it kind of felt familiar, but I was still learning a lot of new things being in this group.
Do you remember like what your first audition was like when you were like, I want to, like, did you, like, your feelings going up to it, you're like, all right, I'm going to do this, you know? Like,
Yeah,
what's
I was
my
going to
mind?
ask about that because I didn't even think it didn't cross my mind that there's an audition process. I don't know why, but it's just like how is
There
that?
is.
What's that
Yeah,
like?
there is. Yeah, the audition process, it's really, I mean, really, when we look at, I'll kind of get into my audition in just a second, but when we look at a lot of auditions for improv specifically, we're not necessarily looking for if the actor is funny, because that's because we can because the thing is that every single person, some people say like, oh, I'm not really funny or anything. That's very false. Like,
You're wrong.
no, it's
Yeah.
true. Everybody is funny. They have their own style of
Yeah,
comedy and comedy.
it's all kind of personal, right?
Yeah, it's all personal and everything. And that's something that we can bring out of you. We can bring the comedy out of you, but what we're looking for in an audition is, are you able to, one, work as a team? We're looking for, because since we're 10 people in this group, and so we're
Mhm.
looking at, are you able to work well with others? Are you able to take notes on things that we have to give you, and stuff? So you could be the most funniest person on the planet, but if we're seeing that you're not working with others or taking notes from others, then it's like, is that someone that we want to work with?
Yeah, you want someone
Yeah.
who's
Exactly. And so, but what we're really looking for is, are you able to create the structure of a scene in what we call crow? And that's character. Who are these people in the scene? Relationship, because there's always going to be mostly two or more people in a scene, so you have to have some sort of connection. And then, what are these people trying to do? Their objective. And so they're trying to do this objective, and then what's their obstacle to keep the stakes, to keep the audience engaged? And then kind of, where are you in the scene? Because you wouldn't react the same way you would, like, let's say we're in this room, Deacon's room. We wouldn't kind of interact the same way than if we were in a library, stuff. There's kind of that relationship difference, and so all of those things are things that we look for when we see an audition. But I remember when I auditioned, I actually wrestled a guy. It was really bad. I think in the scene we were doing, I don't remember what specific game we were doing, but the guy and I were just, I think, like brothers that were like arguing, and then I think he like started to tackle me, and I just kind of
you just ran with it.
I just ran with it, and all the people who were on the team at the time were just like, whoa, like, cut it out, like,
They saw a
save.
lawsuit coming. They saw a lot.
Oh my
They probably
gosh,
saw
yeah, it
like
was.
the cash signs in your eyes. They're like, he's trying to get something out of this. We got to stop this right now.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And so I thought, and so they had two sets of auditions, and it wasn't like a callback style where it's like, oh, they would call you back into. They would just have two auditions. And so I went to both, and it was like, the first audition, wrestled that guy. It was kind of just okay. But then I came back the second time. it was just like,
It left an imprint. You
yeah, I kind of
you
left
made a
that
statement.
imprint.
They're like, oh, this guy.
Oh, this is the guy that this is the guy
Yeah.
that wrestled. Okay.
Yeah, well, I asked them later, like a couple of them were like, yeah, we figured out it wasn't your fault. And so we were like, okay, since it wasn't his fault, let's rework this, I guess. Um, but I was like, I mean, that helps. But then it came back the second time and tried a couple different ideas. And then I found my way onto the team and stuff. And it's been a glorious, 3 to 4 years of being on this team.
That is awesome. And now you're in charge of it, president. Like how does that feel? What was that build up like getting there?
Well, it was an incredible experience for a couple of, I think, for a couple of reasons. And one of the first ones was that, like, being just in general, being in a club as a freshman and just starting out and like getting your foot in the door, just anywhere in general, is super helpful to, because you're in college, you don't know anybody, you're away from your family, you're away from your friends, and you have to literally restart, not necessarily your life, but just a new chapter. And so being in a club just to start off, it really just helps you to get new people, to find your people, find your community, find new aspects of just what your potential is as a human being. And so first off, doing that was just absolutely incredible. But then as we were kind of going through the first 2 quarters, COVID hit. And so that's where everybody had to be home. And so it's like, how do you do improv over Zoom? That's
the question. Is the question that's transcended time for all sorts of different aspects of life. How do you do blank over Zoom?
Exactly. And so it raised so many questions, but we all stayed together.
Yeah.
We all stayed together because we were basically a family. And so we tried, where we were stumbling through various things, we were doing as best as we could to stay together and to continue doing the art that is improv. And then when we finally came back, we were able to really reconstruct everything that we knew, and we're trying to create new ideas. And so it really, a lot of it, like, it's like, for me, it's like I say that I'm the president and the leader, yes, but really for me, being a leader is just saying, like, hey, we have these ideas and things that we want to do. Let's work together. I have this idea, but let's build off of this, and really see what we can do, to create then what we give to the audience on stage. And so it's been really cool just to learn how to be that, and find, a lot of trial and error. Because I was president at the start of spring quarter last year. And so that was very much just a trial and error, just to see, like, hey, what's working, what's not, and nothing was, it wasn't bad or good. It was just like, hey, we're in college, we're learning how to be, a leader and stuff. And so, and then starting fall quarter this year and now winter quarter this year, it's just been just absolutely incredible just to be a leader and just be a part of this team.
So if people don't, haven't been to a show before and don't really know what you guys are about, do you want to explain kind of like what your mission statement is in a way, or like what people can like get out of the experience, what they should enjoy?
Oh my goodness. Yes, absolutely. So us as the Hot New Jam, we are Central's best and only improv team. And so we are a comedy troupe, and pretty much improv is scenes, moments, or skits that are created on the fly. So if you guys have ever seen the show Whose Line Is It Anyway? Or even you just kind of look at some of the new Marvel projects, they say, like, a lot of that's, scenes were improvised. That's right. Essentially saying we do comedy without a script, and we just create all of our comedy bits and moments just immediately on the fly. And if you come to our shows, or if you come to Free Play, which is where anybody and everybody can do improv, you can do scenes, you can just sit and watch and enjoy, you will always find comedy that is for everyone. It's not comedy that is specifically tailored to anyone. It is people bringing in their own ideas, their own perspectives on what the word funny means. And it is something that is for anybody and everybody to participate.
That's awesome.
Do you have like a go-to? Is there like a suggestion or maybe like a type of skit? I'm not sure like how you would categorize it, but is there like one in particular that you like doing the most? Maybe a certain suggestion that you find come up during the improv that gets thrown out at you that you like doing the most?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, we love getting we love asking whenever we do shows or we do free play, we always get suggestions from the audience to ask, and we love asking the questions of like, can I get a non-geographic location or something you wouldn't want to find in a shoebox? And then the audience just runs like that. Yeah. Runs that with just like crazy and stuff. I remember there was this one time I got this one suggestion for a relationship. And we were doing a show and everything, and I was like, can I get a relationship for these two individuals? And someone said, you can't tell if they're siblings or if they're dating. That was the whole thing. And
that is a great prompt.
It was a great prompt. And I was just like, I would have never come up with that one. You know, it was just so funny. And we used that one in the show. Or there was even one that we're starting to do now where we just point out an audience member and go, you're thinking of two words. What are you thinking of?
That is a good one.
Yeah, what are you thinking of? And just say two words. They can go together. They don't have to. Just what are two words? And I just remember I pointed at one individual and I just said, what are the two words you're thinking of? And without hesitation, this individual just said, oh God. Just to be like, I'm trying to think. And I just said, that's your prompt.
Oh God.
And stuff just on the fly. And it was absolutely hilarious.
Have you ever had one that's really stumped you? Like someone, I mean, I guess that can be kind of tough because they can give different answers and you can get more than one suggestion whenever you're doing stuff like that. But has there been a prompt that maybe as the team you guys decided to do that really stumped you guys and you guys had to kind of work your way through it?
Oh, sure. There's always stuff like that. There's been a couple where it's like, if we were to do an impersonation of like maybe a pop culture figure or a character, sometimes we would get ones that we wouldn't know. I had to do one that was Michael Cera. I knew of Michael Cera from a couple of shows, Scott Pilgrim and Arrested Development, but it was kind of like the general audience didn't know really who he was. I didn't really know who he was. So it's kind of like, how do you communicate to the audience what's happening without really them knowing what it is?
Right.
Because they don't. Or there's been a couple of times where I'm trying to think if there has been one, but really in general with suggestions, a lot of times you can use the suggestion however you want. So for example, if like a dolphin is our suggestion, we don't have to use dolphin as like the main story plot. It's really just an idea to help get us going. And so it could literally just be like Deacon and I, we're doing a scene. It's absolutely hilarious. Oh, look, a dolphin is flying over. And that's all that is used.
As long as you get it in there, it's just like, that's the goal, to kind of fit it in there somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just something to kind of help get us started. Now that I think of one, we had one where someone always wanted to suggest like Ohio.
Of course.
Ohio. But this person would suggest it like 5 times. And we were just like,
what's the why?
Why Ohio? Or, and stuff. And so we were just like, we don't know what to do with that one. And so we would always just go to a different suggestion. Normally we get like 5 suggestions per game just to kind of generate ideas.
Yeah, you mentioned an acronym earlier. What was it? CROW? That was the acronym?
Yeah, CROW.
What of those different, parts of CROW, what is like the hardest one, do you think, to kind of figure out and to work with?
Oh yeah. I would say probably objective and obstacle. Kind of those two really are, I would say, some more challenging aspects to look at for a scene, just because you have, characters and you have the relationships. You can immediately say that right at the start of a scene. But I would say objective and obstacle are the hardest because those are the prompts to help engage your audience into what you're doing.
Right.
And so like, I think a perfect example is let's say I'm doing a scene and my objective is to get the cookies from the cookie jar. I can immediately get the cookies from the cookie jar. So you immediately have 10 seconds of your scene, of maybe your 5-minute scene is already done. And so then where else can you go with that? To create those stakes, to engage your audience, and through that find the comedy in it. So then you say, okay, maybe the obstacle is, my scene partner, who is maybe my father, won't let me have the cookies from the cookie jar. So now we have, now we're kind of even establishing our relationship just a little bit more. And now I have to figure out how to get the cookies from the cookie jar, but my dad won't let me. And stuff. And how do we find the comedy through that? And so I would say that is the most challenging, because as well, when we do more long form games, so typically when we do shows, we do like 8 to 10-minute games, but now we're going to be branching off into more like 15-minute scenes or more half-hour games.
That's going to be
and
so fun.
they're so fun, but challenging because there's a lot of listening and a lot of consistency that has to happen in those scenes, because now you're really talking about not bits but stories. Because bits are more just like 30-second jokes that can happen immediately, and those are great, those are absolutely hilarious, just like in stand-up comedy. But now we have to create story and stuff more than just trying to get laughs, but now we're creating, like,
you gotta figure out how to mix the two now.
Exactly.
That's really interesting.
That's what I was just going to say real quick, that's what it seemed like, the obstacle and objective part of it. That's what it sounded like to me, is that it not only is it just, what's being kind of in the middle, like the meat of what you guys are doing, but at the same time, it's kind of developing a story almost. Like you said, you could just get the cookies from the cookie jar if you wanted, but that's not really a story. You kind of have to build around it and start to develop a story. And then you brought up, you're making a story right there. And I was like, oh, look at that. Everything comes full circle. It makes complete sense now.
Absolutely. Well, and a lot of it too is a prompt that it's we have this saying called yes and that's something that we always live by in improv and just in comedy in general, and saying like yes to an idea, and then the and is building off of it. So let's say Deacon and I are doing a scene together, and I say, or Deacon says, "Hey, Marcus, I have an apple." And then I say, yes, affirming the idea that Deacon has an apple. And then I'm saying, and let's go make some applesauce out of it. So we've affirmed the idea, a rule in this world saying there is an apple that Deacon has. And I'm saying, let's use that rule and build off of it.
And you're just kind of like working your way up, to the next step, things like that.
Exactly.
And there's some collaboration there too, so it's not like someone's idea is getting shut down immediately too.
Exactly.
In some cases,
well, and that's the thing, is that if you said, hey, hey, Marcus, I have an apple, and I say, no, that's not an apple. You say, okay, then I have an orange. You don't have an orange. Does anyone look good in that scene?
I would say not.
Doesn't look good because he's embarrassed, and I don't look good because I wasn't working as a team. I wasn't a team member, and stuff. And we try and do yes and, like, more often than not when you do a scene, it's always best to say yes and, or at least find ways to say yes and. But, sometimes there are given circumstances on why you should say no in the scene. Maybe two characters are arguing, or maybe there is a scene or a comedy bit that makes you as the actor uncomfortable. And so you have to say, maybe as a physical or personal or emotional boundary, no, I don't, I do not desire to continue this.
And that's way more important than the comedy of what you're trying to achieve there.
Oh, absolutely.
It supersedes the personal.
Yeah, because it's like, at the end of the day, all of this is very, like, the comedy, the bit, the show, it's very temporary. We want to care for the actors specifically, as well as the audience in the scene, and stuff like that. So it's a lot of just collaboration and working together in those scenes.
What would you say is something you've learned, like, about yourself doing improv and, like, these 3 to 4 years you put into Hot New Jam?
Well, one thing I would say is that improv has helped me, at least myself in many ways, has taught me how to interact with others, not just especially outside the stage. Like like improv is essentially just talking to people. Whenever we do scenes, it's a lot of just people talking and interacting to one another. And we may be talking as characters, but us as actors, we're asking each other questions really as to what this scene actually is. But it just comes in the form of us characters talking. And then when you go off stage and you're actually interacting with people, it's just a beautiful way to yes and just to talk to other individuals, to say, like, to learn about other people, and then find comedy through that, stuff like that. So it's a beautiful way just to help people talk to people, and just be confident in it and stuff. Like improv has helped a lot of people, myself included, just to be more confident in how we interact, and just saying whatever is on our mind. Now, obviously, we need a filter in what we say, and stuff, because we don't want to hurt people's feelings or say anything crude. But it helps us have that confidence in having a filter, and still saying what we would like to say.
I would imagine your listening skills are probably pretty good. You might be a little bit better than someone like me, where if I'm not fully engaged with something, I might miss a couple words, because improv seems like you have to rely on really, really good listening skills, and that's something that you probably learn along the way.
It really is. And I say all that, and I'm not a very perfect individual when it comes to listening. There's a lot of times I just space out, even in scenes. I just space out, and I'm like, I don't know what. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just gonna go off to the side and eat chips, like imaginary chips.
That would probably be my go-to every single time if I was in improv. So props to you for that.
Oh, thank you.
Well, you've interacted with student media before, you're on this podcast, but do you want to describe your kind of how the Observers talked to you before, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if the magazines ever talked to you, or Central News Watch, but
Central News Watch has come to us a couple of times. I think has come to us at least, I believe, twice, and I think they're actually going to be coming by next week, which is really exciting.
Sneak peek for some CNW inside stuff there.
Yes.
Look out for that story coming from Gavin Johnson.
Yep. Yes, absolutely. It's cool. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's been really cool to see, I mean, you guys interested in us and want, and I mean, it's wonderful because you guys specifically, because you guys are on the Observer and are on Pulse Magazine, and are doing this podcast and everything, it helps boost our numbers up to get word of mouth out. And so it's been really incredible. Our numbers have been growing like crazy. I think our last show, that was on February 14th,
packed out.
It was, I want to say we at least had more than 100 people at that show, and it was incredibly humbling and honoring to have and everything. But a lot of part of that was, I mean, just word of mouth, and you guys just, I mean, being interested in us and wanting to see who we are, and allowing us to share our stories.
Well, it's like, how could you not be interested? It's like it's something that like where I come from, there is nothing like that. You don't see things like that. And when you get to come to a big school like Central, university, you get introduced to all these different forms of media, like we talk about. And I think this improv comedy is definitely a big form of media that, if you've never experienced it before, it's something that I think definitely draws a lot of interest, because you see it in movies, you see it on live television, but to get the chance to go and see it in person and maybe even be part of the act, it's like, who wants to miss that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, and that's, and you say that, and that's such a beautiful thing about college, because something that I've heard, and I personally view and agree with, is that college is 50% educational and 50% social.
Right.
Just because it's like, yes, you're in your classrooms and you're learning about, your future career, but it also, there's other people in the classroom with different stories, different perspectives, and different interests. And through that, you find how many, I mean, we have, I think, like at least over 50, like somewhat 50 clubs or something
Yeah,
like
give
that.
or take. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of pages on there. Online,
Yeah, there's just a lot of pages. Or you go to like a club fair, and there's just so many people with so many interests and so many ideas to just create community and better our world, just in a sense of togetherness. And so it's just really cool to see all that come into play.
For
Clubs
sure.
are the best.
Oh yeah.
Clubs are the best.
So as we come to the end of this, you got a show coming up. When's your guys' next show?
Yeah, so we got a show February 4th. So on a
4th.
Saturday, or I think February 4th, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds right.
Yeah, do I know when my own show is? Yeah, February. Yep, February 4th. Got that right. It's at 9 p.m. at the Cirque Theater. And everything. We open our doors typically around 8:45, 8:50ish. And then we start the show at 9. And so I'm really excited for people to come and see it. And it'll be our last show this quarter. But we'll have plenty more in spring quarter.
So are you guys going all out? The finale. You're bringing out all the stops for this one.
Oh, we are. We very much are. We have a couple of lovely and wonderful surprises. We just recently we're working with an accompanist right now. So we have a lovely gentleman who works on an electric keyboard.
Okay, cool.
And so he's gonna be so he'll come in spring and everything, but he's gonna be doing some music score. So kind of when you watch movies or observe musicals and stuff like that, you kind of, there's obviously music in the background to fill the space and kind of set a tone and vibrancy of a scene. And so we've got a guy coming in and everything who's a good friend of mine, and he's going to be being a piano player for our scenes. So that's going to be in spring quarter, so stay tuned. But we've got a new game we're going to be introducing this next show that I'm really excited for the people to see. Little tease.
February 4th, Saturday, 9 p.m. Save the date. Look at that. There's my listening skills right there. I'm basically, I could put me in the show. Put me in the show.
There you go. You just yes-anded. Yes-anded.
So February 4th.
Yes, there is a show happening, and got it in my brain.
Save the date. Make sure you guys check it out. I will be there. Deacon, you going to be there?
Oh, you know what? I should be there. I also, fun fact, life update for everybody. I'm working at job. So I'm doing doubles there. So, it depends.
Okay. Well, if Deacon can't make it, runs. I'll make up on his end because I'll bring my roommate with me because I know he'll want to go. Yes. So we'll be sure to be there. Can't wait to see it live, man. Marcus, we cannot thank you enough for coming on. This was awesome. It was good talking to you. Nice meeting you too.
Yes, lovely meeting you. And it was an absolute pleasure and so much fun to talk to you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Things before we wrap up here. One, I forgot to introduce. He's also my roommate, which is why we're in the same room together. In case that wasn't obvious by now, but I just thought I'd say that because it's pretty funny.
No, it's awesome.
But we went the whole time, and we stayed. It's somewhat professional.
Yeah.
And the second thing would be, I think Marcus and I want to check in on how you're doing, Evan, because you didn't follow up on that. You said you were feeling a little down today.
So well, you cut me off, but my feelings don't matter.
Oh gosh.
To close this out, I wanted it to be a little somber. I'm sad because today is Championship Sunday for the NFL, meaning there's only 3 football games left in the season. And it's heartbreaking. So I'm going to enjoy the absolute heck out of these next 2 games as the Niners take on the Eagles in about 16 minutes. And I'm going to enjoy every bit of football that I can squeeze out for the rest of the season. Real quick, what are your predictions, Deacon? We said we were going to do this. I'm up. I'm up 1-0 on the week.
Guys, I'm caving. Get ready for this. I'm going to go Purdy. I'm going to say Purdy stays 8-0 as a starter here, right? He's won 7 games, right? That sounds about right to me. You know what? I'm picking San Fran. I can't bet against that squad. They're too complete. Even though Philadelphia is actually a real team this year, they're not like Minnesota. And I can't keep betting against Burrow. And I just have a feeling that this Bengals team can't be beat. Even though, I'm okay with either one, but I've just bet against them all season. I said that they wouldn't go back to the Super Bowl. So I feel like
I said that too.
I was like, there's just no way. I was like, the AFC is too loaded, but they proved me wrong all year. So I'm just ready to.
I'm keeping it short and simple. I got the Mahomes jersey on because he kept me good all year in fantasy. I got to go Chiefs, and I'm going Eagles. That's what I got today. So when this is over, when it's said and done. Yep, we'll see. This is really going to be the tiebreaker here. Well, the Super Bowl, so we'll see. We have to be opposite in the Super Bowl.
We do.
All right. Follow the Instagram. Be at Hot New Jam Saturday, February 4th, 9 p.m. Make sure you check it out. Marcus, can't thank you enough.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, no, thank you guys.
Yep. All right, we'll see you guys on the next one.
Mhm.